My journey as a was a targeted individual. Um, what I've been through and what I've discovered, what I've built, and what I've become, but is yet hidden from the all-seeing eye, the drone stars, keep me from my glory or anything that's inherited to me, and to keep people away from me. It all started out. All of a sudden, I was getting targeted. I was getting tortured. The girl that I was with was being cruel and mean. She had no understanding. She would use me for sex, and then I would sleep on the floor, and then I would find my days sitting in the hallway in an open, no door closet with a big bottle of whiskey, and that would last me throughout the day, and then I would get whatever sleep I could get while being tortured and tormented and screwed with. I would get strobe lighting. I mean, all kinds of things. That was about the time when I went and bought a plate of aluminum wide enough because they made me think it was my neighbor's, and so I I went ahead and put this 3/8 thick aluminum shielding behind my bedroom facing the neighbors, and before you know it, I had this abrupt awakening, and then a ricochet off the aluminum, and then I was like, "That's electromagnetic bullet," and then I was like, "Let's break it down," because I'm pretty good at that. My family always knows I can always find a way out, and I'm pretty good at solving things and reverse engineering. And so I go, what about magnets? How about if we take magnets, and I know how magnets work? What if I, and then put it on a helmet on my head to shield my brain, and then put it in reverse polarity, so it creates the force field against other magnetic pulses or frequencies that turn into electromagnetic energy. And and so then they spun me around, and for some reason I was just taking these trips on my motorcycle going out to San Francisco. I don't know why. I took a drive all the way out to Arizona, and then I had these voices go to the police there, and then I drove through some desert pathway that was supposed to be the sheriff or whatever it was. I don't know. I must have took the wrong way, but he led me off in the desert and left me out there to die, from dehydration. And I almost did. My tongue was sticking to the roof of my mouth, um, but I was full of jokes, and I kept myself motivated to keep moving, especially when you see a crow and a hawk land up in the trees above you, ready to pick your eyeballs out because you're dying. And then I made it home that day. I made it home several trips, uh, where I almost blew myself up in a truck, and I lost my trailer. I lost my truck. I lost my motorcycle on the trailer and tools that I've had, and I slept in a gas station, at the pump, because I didn't want to be out there in nowheres. I mean, I didn't know at the time. Um, so, anyways, finally it came to a point where I've had it. Um, I decided to put the reverse polarity magnet helmet together, which I call Magneto. And what I did is at first, because I had enough, because I was with my girl, and then I mean, in order to have a weekend with her, it would take me 2 weeks to recover, 2 week to a week, and I just had it because it was just pure torture in a hotel room. The bed's not grounded. This is before I discovered all that stuff, and I had no shielding, and it was horrible. I mean, I had lack of sleep. I was worn down, beat down. My head was always pounding, and I mean, just like the regular symptoms, of a heavy, high targeted person. And it read my mind a bunch of times, and then I mean, they even had me leave the house, and then I'm running out in the desert barefoot, and they're like, "I want you to walk the earth, you know, alone by yourself and stuff like that." And I was like, "Fine, I'll just go down to the L.A. forest and live off the land." But I mean, I would see this red light coming from the sky, from these stars and stuff, and then I mean, it gave me sight. I've been able to see these things, for quite some time. The invisible, and then I mean, I could tell it's the drums because I was heading towards uh, uh, San Francisco for some stupid reason, and it was mind control. And then it was cold, so I would park my bike and then lay next to the engine to warm my body up, and then I would hear voices up there. Um, but let's just get started how it came off, to pull myself out of this targeting. So what I did is I took a baseball helmet, tore out all the padding, and then I ordered like a bunch of regular neodyme N52 big magnets, at least probably about 1 inch, 1 inch in diameter to an inch and a half, square magnets, and I would take epoxy and then duct tape it to the inside first, and then I'll get rest because I was worn out doing that, being targeted and stuff, and then the next day I would put magnets on the outside doing the same thing, and then I started wearing that helmet. It was about, I mean, I wore it until it fell apart, and I wore it 24 hours a day, and I started noticing I was starting to get relief. I was getting sleep. Things were dropping off. I was thinking better. I was able to figure out things more. I felt more free and more freedom. I was able to go out and do chores or go out and run errands. I could only do like an errand at a time. So every day it got better because I started doing one errand to two errands to 3 errands a day to 4 errands a day, until about my brain started hurting because, I would take it off to go take these trips. And this is before I invented the day cap that I build, Magneto's day cap, to wear during the day to keep my brain shielded because the magnets, because magnets create good blood flow, and good blood flow promotes healing, and because with the north facing in and the north facing out, because whenever their energies are set, so the frequency turns into to electrical charge, which is magnetic, and which is electromagnetic then, and then that alone with that energy and that power at force of speed, creates radiation, and so I got north facing out because any magnetic frequency or pulse or anything new created into a magnetic force is always north. It's always No, not, it's never negative. Um, and so, anyways, so it just got better and it got better. And then I asked my mom because I was staying there, and it was before I was rolled up, curled up into a ball, my mother's bedpost, and I mean, they had me run out barefoot one time when I was in Oceanside, and the calluses and the skin was torn off my feet. They had me run and do all these burpees, and and they made me hold my piss, and it was pretty messed up. They would put a box on my head until finally I passed out in front of some patrol officer, some cop at the harbor, and I was in an ambulance, and the ambulance guy in the ambulance had the oxygen below my chin, and I couldn't breathe. And so with all my strength, I pulled my arm out of these straps, and I pulled the oxygen, put it in my mouth, and I was like, motherfucker, it pissed me off. Excuse my language, but and then I blacked out in the hospital, and then I had pads on my feet and stuff, and I walked to my dad's, and my mother picked me up. So ever since I've been at my mother's house, and then just licking my wounds, I had to crawl to the bathroom. They were trying to starve me. I couldn't eat, and kept me up all night and stuff, and I would just sit there, as my brain was just bouncing around. My head was hurting and everything, and but that magneto reverse polarity magnet helmet helped me out. And so I asked my mom, and I go, hey, um, how can I hold these magnets in without using a metal screw, to make it heavier and bulky and stuff? And then, and I can't, epoxy all of them because they'll flip off when I try to put it in reverse. And then she suggested like rivets, and I was like, that's a good idea. She suggested something like that, and I was like, yeah. And then that's when I found Nutty Bolts, and they're and miraculously they were in the same town that I lived in, and so I started getting the rivets, and then I started ordering magnets. At first, they were light magnets, and um, there were only 8-pound pull at that time that I could find, and up until I found the thicker ones, and then I built a helmet like that, and then I felt more freedom, and I was like, wow, this is freeing my mind, and I'm able to think, and I think common sense, and it's like I'm pulling out of this program. I could sleep, freaking. I could do more things on the outside. I'm getting freer and freer, and what it was doing, it was healing my brain, because the connection from the all-seeing eye up there from these drone stars, that connection, like a invisible UV connection. It's I mean, I can see it invisible, but it's this connection into the brain that ties into our brain's frequency, and I mean, I can see the all-seeing eye and everything above people's heads, but they connect it to everyone's brains, and so that connection alone damages the brain. That's why we get heightened as we grow older, and then when they weaponize your third eye, and they start attacking your brain, like what we get as TIs, and damage our brain, we get heightened even more. But when they block our ways, and they always torture us, they blind us from actually seeing what we need to see as lambs of light. And they block us out, and they send us on rabbit holes, chasing this and that and here and there, when we should be looking for the source. And it's not chasing the money, it's actually chasing what's above us. And so, anyways, as this happened, I started getting stronger and better, and then I advertised it and started building helmets for people and stuff, and got a lot of testimonies and stuff. And then I was like, wow, they're messing with my balls too, you know. And I'm like, well, why don't I just get a cup in a jock strap and then put magnets on a cup in reverse polarity, and then sure enough, it blocked them from putting pain on my balls. And then and then I started being able to be awoken to a point where I remember old sayings and old preachings and old things that were putting me on a path. And so I added brass to the cup, you know, which is why you used to hear back in the old days is brass balls, and so bam, that right there, it gave me a clue. So I added brass. Added healing to my growing, and then after that, it became a journey. And when that journey started, I knew because they were hitting my heart, they were hitting my organs, and I was drinking. So I knew then I needed more. And then the first thing that comes in my head is the Bible teaches us put on the armor of God, right? So I go I already knew I needed to build armor. So I started building this armor, and it became a testament. It became my path. And then, I mean, before I started creating that armor, you know, just like it shows the sun, where if you it is said, if you stare at the sun and you don't bow your head, then that means the sun's connecting to you, and it freaking clears out your pineal gland and provides you with the path, you know, that it wants you to go. That's why back in the ancient time they used to call it the sun god. They would worship the sun, which is might as well. And and see, that's where it gets the cup. It shows the cup there, where it gives the Holy Grail. And then I started, you know, I stared at the sun, and then I felt this peace, and then that's when I started building this armor, right? So I'm building this armor. I'm fighting the devil, and they're talking a bunch of crap, and I'm getting hit in different places, and then I started building. At first, I made a silver. I ordered nothing but silver, and I hammered it into you know, different armor pieces, like a breast piece and a back piece, you know, and then a stomach piece, and next thing you know, and I in my brain, after the helmet, been wearing the helmet for about, this has been about 6 months to almost a year, and I wore it 24 hours in the house. And this was just with magnets only. I have one that you can plug in to the ground, um, and then and it freed me. It was like the Holy Spirit or something was telling me, like, you know, this is the people that stole your innocence. These people get into people's minds and they mind control people. These people get into minds, they get into our thoughts, and then they manipulate your thoughts when you think, and you're like thinking that, oh, that's the way, or that's how I'm going to listen, and that's how I'm going to think, and that's what's going to guide me through my decisions in life. And then, I mean, you must heal your brain to be able to decipher. If you could decipher, that's good. I mean, you got to think multiple times of your decisions, you know, because there's that voice of trickery, and they mimic your words and stuff, and they try to line it up in this silent voice in your ear. Everybody has V2K. You know, you may not hear it, but it's going in your ears. And if you have ringing in your ears, then you got V2K. You're getting little messages put in your head, you know, in order to control you, control the populace. You know, the government's controlled. But enough to say about that. Um, but I started noticing these freedoms and my ability to process, and my ability with my third eye connection to be able to function as far as like ancient information and knowledge and things that I couldn't possibly imagine or think about before I broke out of this control system, which is people call the matrix. And they control our minds and decisions and stuff like that. It just depends on if they like you or not. But either way, everybody's being deceived. So with this deciphering, I was like, I want to learn my enemy and who's attacking me, who's up there, and I would take a laser and point it at a star and watch it spin around in circles. And I'm like, that's something else. And then it was up until one point in that same trip in Frisco when I actually saw a drone come down, and it was about the size of a twin bed, maybe bigger, and it had 4 propellers, all powder blacked out. And I was like, that's a freaking drone. Because I dropped something and it wanted to see what I dropped, I've been watching this for quite some time. And so, so to get back to the story, so I was creating this armor fighting the devil. And and then and I started adding pieces. I went and bought anything that had metaphysical healing. I looked it up on the internet, and I found brass has metaphysical healing, silver has metaphysical healing, titanium has metaphysical healing, and it's a pathogen killer. But through this beginning, I started out with silver, and then I exchanged my metal rivets that I would use to build my armor and put pieces together, and I would put brass rivets because they put a bunch of welts on my heart chest when they're attacking me, and I was using metal rivets, and it was conductive, so it put some welts in my chest, and I'm fighting them and stuff, and they've tried giving me heart attacks. I would just put on Magneto, my helmet, the reverse polarity magnet helmet, and then I would deal with it, and then. But it just came to it took me a whole year to build it, but I spent every day just building my armor. That's why I wasn't on Facebook or anything, and then I lost touch with everybody and then as I'm building, I see this video, and this video says that in ancient time people would take the quest for the Holy Grail. And so I was like, that's what I'm doing. I'm taking a quest for the Holy Grail because for some reason I knew the Holy Grail's armor. And so I spent a year building this armor. And I mean, it's got 2 layers of brass in the chest piece, a layer of titanium in the inside, a plate to extend the heart shielding over on my left chest with silver and titanium, and moon metal, which is magnetic metal, and bronze, and so it's a little bit of heavy piece, and then the rest of it's brass and titanium, and some places have silver, just to shield my chakras and to shield my body. And then as I built it, the devil was sitting there, these drone stars, Lucifer, whoever you want to call them, they're all the same, and would attack me. And he would attack me in different areas where they attack on my body to damage my organs. And then as time went by, I'm blocking everything, and I'd quickly go to my material. I'd cut out a piece. I would draw it out with paper, and then size the piece, draw it on the material I'm going to use, and then I would build it, hammer it out to the shape, blacksmith it out, the shape of my curvature of my body in different areas. Apply some heat, to get the metal hot, the material hot, so it could be malleable. And then and it took me a whole year. And during this time, I'm over here researching. At first, I took apart a pair of radiation glasses, and I put the lenses up to my ears, and then I noticed some more freedom. That's where I came up with Sonic Ear. And then I was testing out. I wasted so much money on different nanometer glasses, and then I'm still trying to find the perfect pair. But the best ones that I found is OZP, which is they only come in goggles. So you have to take a Dremel and then cut them to fit into a frame of glasses that fit on your head, and you cut them out to the frame size, and then that's what he put them in and epoxy them. And during this time, I built many helmets. I built a better one. The problem with using Moo Metal is that the energy, it's supposed to, it's supposed to hit the Moo Metal and kind of like flake off, but I find that the energy kind of stays in. So I wind up putting a brass inlayer, which I want to use titanium, but the problem is that I don't know how to weld it. I can't weld it. I think it has to be tigged, and then I have to heat it up and bend it into shape. And I just ran out of time to be able to build that, and so I used brass instead, and I built 2 layers, and that brass acts as like a resistor. It kind of resists the energy above, and plus it heals whatever energy goes through, and so it makes a great helmet, a double layered helmet and stuff. And then because I noticed just recently, because I had to repair my Magneto day cap, and then I used one of my old Moo Metal ones, and then my head hurt after a while. It took me 4 hours to wear my reverse polarity magnet helmet just to heal from that head pain. And I was like, wow, shoot, I ain't wearing that again. So, I mean, the brass is a huge difference, makes a huge difference. And plus, I put magnets on the top. I riveted north facing out, not reverse polarity, just magnets on top, just in that area where they target my brain the most. And so here comes the crazy part. During my journey, as I'm going, I hear this message on YouTube about the quest for the Holy Grail, and so I'm building my armor, and then I noticed they were hitting my kidneys, and my kidneys healed because they were. See, the thing is that Jesus asked, "Who are you?" from above. And he goes, "I am Beelzebub, and this is Legion," And see, it was misinterpreted, or it has like a parable meaning to it, which is lesion, which it means lesion, and because they create lesions in your organs in your body, so that's why they continuously hit those spots of TIs, and it gets worse and worse. And then, like, they hit your spine and they make your back pain and all that. When I wear the armor, my back does not hurt. My body doesn't hurt. It's used to the weight. And I get this energy and power from it that it allows my chakras to align. So I was like, wow, this has got to be the armor of God, because the timing makes sense. And then I started learning parables and this and that here and there as I going through my journey, and during this time, I mean, they used to hit me like big time, testing out my armor, and it would enlighten me and make me more powerful, and to a point where you're like, you feel you're one with God, and it's that powerful. I mean, I could see everything. I could be able to use the atmosphere with, because they made it into a computer screen out there, and because I was energy, I was able to manipulate the energy, and practically touch the stars up there, and I've seen this done before in like ancient history gods and stuff. And I did a lot of research with the ancient gods, and I did a lot of research in the history, and I mean, I really did my homework. And I even the Templar, I came to a point, and the all-seeing eye and everything, and God and etc. The Bible, and then I started thinking, and I'm sitting here today, and I don't get messed with. They know who I am, you know, and they just they wanted to deny my armor, my shielding, and my magneto helmet that heals the brain. And basically, I've created the armor of God. And people mostly believe that it's the Holy Spirit, this and that, and here and there. Christians don't get messed with because they're blind. And the Bible was meant to show you how when a God is created, how a God is, and how he treats people, what he does to people in the First Testament. And then the New Testament is supposed to tell you how to survive it, how to avoid it, how to recognize it, stay watch and diligent, and watch for these signs, and put yourself in places where where we as a people could stop it, like in politics. And I mean, you got the Masons and stuff, and so, these scientists and everything else, they gave this extra power to the all-seeing eye. They didn't have this power before, but with all these energies and these Teslas that they got Tesla set up, I mean, in CERN and HARP, they gave them more power, and so they created him. And so we were supposed to stand there, not and do something about it. We're supposed to fight, people. We're not supposed to just take it and hopefully our souls. You know what the souls mean? The souls mean is that it's a translation, because it tells you that the stars above, that beam down is your soul, and it's supposed to guide you, but they turn their backs on us now. That's not your soul. That's someone else in your body, because the Christians say, oh, let it in your heart and let it in you, and the Holy Spirit and this. I've never let anything in my heart. I didn't allow it to, and it got in there enough to where it actually got me in some trouble. It got me almost killed so many times. And you can't trust it. And people think they're souls and stuff, and when they leave the body, they're looking at themselves. When these near death experiences, that's the person that was in their body, and then they project it into them. What their so-called soul is looking at, and then it shows all these other things going up to heaven. That's not your soul. You can create your own soul, your own belief and feelings about yourself, but because your temple is your brain. You have your own church and stuff, and you got to really change your thinking, big time, with these new revelations that came up, because all that I see now is false prophets leading the churches to wrong paths, worshiping the wrong God, false messiahs and stuff like that, and false beliefs and stuff, to believe in something that's actually not true. I mean, in the Bible it says, leave the weeds with the harvest. You know what that means? That means we're the weeds and the harvest. That means people. The people are the harvest. So they tried to suck me up in the sky, but they didn't have enough power. I trained my body to ground to Mother Earth. That's why I harp on grounding so much to you people, because they're able to pull up people when they're wearing tennis shoes, and their bodies are not trained to ground, and we're electrical, and and if we ground our body to Mother Earth, then we'll be safe. I mean, that's what Buddha did. Buddha fought with the devil, and then he would stay grounded to Mother Earth, and then the energy would flow to Mother Earth. It's because he trained his body. He trained his system how to ground. That's how he defeated the devil at that time, and he lived for so long. Um, and and just a lot of things what people don't pay attention to realize that the Bible has the devil in it. It's got God in it. It's got the prophets in it. And we're supposed to listen and then figure out the listen to the prophecies and figure out the parables. Well, here's the parable I figured out. I mean, I built the armor of God. I stared at the sun, and and the sun, the sun god, which is Egyptian as well, and Christianity worships Jesus, and Jesus is represent represented as the sun. So you got the sun, son of God, which is God's son, the freaking sun in the sky. And then, but the thing is, you got to remember what is up, so below. And so the sun gave me my path. And so I walked with Jesus. I saw what they did to him because he was a TI as well. And then he led me to the path to the search of the Holy Grail. I built it. And I built all the armor of God and the shielding and everything. And then I hear this, Jesus, I remember this saying with Jesus saying, this is my flesh. And the wine in the cup goes, this is my blood. And the cup represents armor. The cup represents armor. And Jesus, what he's saying in the parable is that this is my flesh and blood and armor of God. Do you understand that, people? Do you understand who I am now? And they woke me up just at the very end of the time when they're wrapping things up and freaking and just to see what I could do and what I would do, and then stop me and then block people from me and then keep people away from me, keep people away from my shielding, and not invest in the armor of God, which is, I mean, it's priceless. I rely on this armor to stay alive. It keeps my organs healed. It keeps everything going. I don't have to wear it all the time now. I wore it for a straight year, solid. And then it healed me enough to where I could wear it it got me past them to a point where I could just wear it at night when I go to sleep and wear the Magneto helmet when I go to sleep. But I mean, there's been some times where I had to wear the armor of God out in the streets and stuff, and they were able to give me heart attacks, but now they can't. They haven't. They haven't done anything. They just they try to converse with me, but the thing is, they know who I am, and at the same time, everything that comes out of their mouth is that they can't help it, because once you're a liar, you're always a liar, and that's a sin. If it says that if you lie, and then that's all you are is a liar, and you will always continue to lie, just like the ones in office, and the Dems. And you guys got to understand that the evil is helping them, and they're pushing them to destroy the earth, and us as well. I mean, that's what chemtrails do. They dry up bodies of water. So the bodies of water we're bodies of water. The clouds need water because water holds memory, and when the clouds have no water, it has no memory to rain again. Why do you think Egypt is barren desert? It used to be an oasis, because gods at those times screwed it all up for everyone else, because they were lusting for power and to be gods and pushing these people in different kingdoms and stuff and having a good old time, being gods of people. And still, yet again, here we go again, the all-seeing eye, doing the same thing, pumping out them chemtrails for control, and it's drying out bodies of water. I mean, yeah, we're we may be overpopulated, but there's plenty of room, and they're cutting out our food, and raising prices and making it harder on us these days, and the chemtrails are making it harder because it creates a cover, a firmament, which is like if you ever had science in uh, you created an oven in science class, a sun oven where it had a top, you used tinfoil, and you cooked food. They're doing the same thing because they're making a cover. People think it's reflecting the sun's rays, but the thing is that those particulates, they flip around. They don't stay in one direction. So the sun just beams all its light and heat, energy all around, while the chemtrails keep it in, and then that heat is just making it into a heat pot. That's why it's been getting humid. It's humid in the deserts when it used to be dry, and it's creating an oven, and we're being cooked and dried out. And the barium and radiation, it's just breaking our bodies down. And see, and they put pathogens in the air, and titanium is a pathogen killer. So whenever I sweat, whenever I'm getting microwave, it's actually creating. I call it the fermentation, the ferment state, which is spiritual alchemy, and so I ferment all these precious metals into my system, which is titanium is a pathogen killer, and titanium oxide. So I sweat creates that oxide with the brass and everything else, and the frequencies going in, it just empowers. That is the armor of God, which is the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is not an actual cup. If the body of a man stands up, his feet side to side is the base of the cup, and then you got the leg, which is the stand of the cup, and then you got the body, which is the cup. That holds the blood of the ram, which is, at first it held the blood of the lamb, but I don't think he had armor, and I think it was up to bring to me the armor of God to be able to help people. And then so basically Jesus did his job. He made his parables, very wisely, and that's the one that stands out the most to me. I mean, he's saying, this is my flesh and blood. And my mom tried to say, oh, the bread is supposed to represent the Bible, and I go, what are you going to do, eat the Bible? You're going to saute it and eat the Bible? I mean, you may read the Bible a million times and still not get the parables until you are actually enlightened and your third eye is open, and you're free to be able to think, and that's by aligning your chakras from your root to your crown, and I have my root to my crown, and all my chakras are aligned, and I got the armor of God, and I got everything to heal from this, and Jesus goes, my cup runneth over. So my cup runneth over in sharing to people. But what else runneth over? A fountain. So basically, I found the lost fountain of youth that people have been searching for centuries. For centuries. And the fountain of youth is in the armor of God, which is the Holy Grail. And yet, they block me from people. People are supposed to seek me out, but they can't read the parables. People are supposed to seek me out. I got answers. I got ways, and I know how to freaking deal with these things and help people to survive this. Because I'm telling you, in the end, the Christians think they're going to go get pulled up to heaven. But the thing is that when you climb the highest peaks of the mountains, it's low in oxygen. So if you're going up to the so-called heavens, which is hell, you're gonna die of suffocation with lack of oxygen. to you and your brain, and you're going to die. And the soul that lives within you is just up in some star, which is your program, which is the all-seeing eye, which is the depiction of the swastika, which is it got ruined by Nazi Germany. The swastika has been around for ancient time, and it represents the spinning wheel, which is the spinning wheel is the third eye. And you know when you're programmed, if you can see your third eye, and it spins around. And if you got energy, and you're actual creating your own soul energy to be able to get past, to make it to the heavens, in space, like Halley's Comet or something, and then become a part of something out there, to get past the dome of the earth, you're going to have to create your own energy, which is your own spirit, to be able to break free. And just like Jesus say, I'm the way, the truth, because I know the truth, and the life, which is the armor of God, is the life. So let that squirm in your head. Don't let something deny you. Let it spin around for a little bit. Let that soak in. But my journey was to bring the armor of God, and I don't want to be the only one saved, but I'm telling you the truth. Everything that I said is fact and the truth. And the parables are real. They're just not read right. Harvest. It wasn't talking about no harvest. It was talking about people. And they're creating up there things that we can't see because the chemtrails cloak the sky above. And they cloak the sky above, and who knows what they're building up there. I mean, when I was able to see that Project Bluebeam kind of thing, where they had an air, it looked like they had an aircraft carrier. And when you make our atmosphere into a computer, they can put other chemicals to make those things actually real. Why do you think there was ancient dragons and beasts and they call it mythology? No, they created those. And they just added it with frequencies and were able to create monsters in those times to fight man. So they can play their little games. That stuff's real. They can, in a computer, how they can create, it's like the sim game. Same thing. It's just like, they are playing like Call of Duty or something. I mean, pretty soon they're going to be powerful enough and energized up there, and then they'll start spraying some other material that what is it? Jeff Boombazi from Chicago or something like that. I can't remember his name, but he noticed these particulates that actually attached to electromagnetic or anything metal or anything of with the frequency and with the magnetism. And these little freaking these little hairs that fell from that sky at that time, they were able to attach to electromagnetic frequencies. And so if they create something, they can wrap that material around the body of what they created and make that computer live up there and to be able to get to you people. I mean, I'm probably talking about something that's far in the future for them, but I guarantee that's what they're doing. They already made a video game up there, and our skies are a computer. That's what the Matrix is. We just can't see it yet. I can. I have sight. You ever hear the saying, God gave him sight? That's me. I'm in the music. Freaking Dio calls me Holy Diver. Freaking Megadeth. Megadeth says the one that got away, or the soul survivor. And I'm speaking to you people the truth. I'm perfectly sane in my mind. I'm not mental or disturbed or I don't think people are following me this and that. I know where they're at, they're up above, but I'm not crazy or nothing. This is my brain is healed. My brain is healed, and that's what pulled me out of this targeting. You know, my reverse polarity magnet helmet I call Magneto, so I call it Magneto's Resurrection because it saved my life. It saved me. That's why when they say Jesus saves, oh yeah, he saves because you got to take the right path, and you people are supposed to follow. But these days you're blind, and you can't tell because they blind you people, and they do it with frequencies, and everything that I have doesn't blind me. It keeps me straight on the path. I just hope and wish you people would listen and follow because I'm on the right path. I know what I'm doing. And I am free from corruption. All right, that's about my story, my journey. I'm gonna sign off. You know, I pray that you TIs you figure it out or you listen. You know, and I hope you're not being tortured too much because you know it's for a reason, and it's because it said in the prophecies that Lucifer would have dominion over the lambs of light, and that's probably the reason. But when you're not listening to someone that brings the armor of God, then you're really at a loss. And for the Christians, your church is lost sheep, and being misguided by the evil one. And you people think it's you guys are talking to God like Pat Robertson. Otherwise, if he was following his true path, he would have became a president. But he freaking stepped down. You know, nobody did anything throughout these years except now in this time once I was awoken. Much blessings and namaste. That's my story, Robert Stanson. Flesh and blood of Jesus Christ.